not, scrolling through all of these resources, but I want to point out that they're here. Starting next year, you are going to become hopefully way more serious about college planning, about looking at careers, starting to look at what sort of requirements you're going to need for different schools that you're interested in. So this is all a whole myriad of different resources that are available to you, and someday I'll get a picture of our actual staff here, but for now, that one's pretty nice. So, okay, navigating high school. First of all, some of you I have not met with yet, and I feel bad about that. And mainly it's because Miss Farah was with you guys last year, and coming into this year, it's kind of hectic in my office. So for those of you that have taken time to come down and meet with me, I appreciate that because it gives me a little insight to where you are at, what things you may need, and how I can be of help to you if I haven't met with you yet. Starting next year, more toward the end of next year, I will meet with everyone individually, talk to you more in detail about what your plans are, what we're looking at doing. But in the meantime, I have my email address up there. I get, I would say, a minimum of 20 emails from parents every day, and probably 20 to 30 emails from students. So it's very common for people to send me a quick email saying, hey, I'm having a bad day, can you calm down? Or, hey, I'm looking at this career and I'm not sure what I should take next year. Can you give me some advice? Those sorts of things. So when in doubt, send me an email. Sometimes I know it's a little bit, uncomfortable maybe walking into my office and asking one of my secretaries to make an appointment. So this is a really easy way for you to let me know that you need one, and then I can call you down whenever my schedule allows me to do that. So please email me if you have any questions. At the door, there's a whole bunch of different things in your packet. I'm not going to walk through those right now. Basically, I want to point out that, and I'm going to do this multiple times, the course description book is online. You should be using that on a regular basis, especially right now during scheduling, so that you fully understand what you need to graduate, you understand what prerequisites are for certain classes that you may want to take as a junior or senior, you understand your options and different electives and things that are out there. Also, counseling website I talked about, and volunteer forms. For the underclassmen, I did copy off volunteer forms, and I didn't do that for your class because by now I know you're aware of volunteerism. Hopefully you're aware of how to go through and get in touch with people if you want to volunteer. If not, I'll touch on a little bit of that, but I didn't want to copy out forms since I know a lot of you already have those. I do have them loaded on my website, so you can go there and print them off from anywhere, or of course you can stop in my office and pick them up. So, you do have a Remind 101 for your class. Not many of you are signed up for that yet, so I'm hoping that this will help to encourage you. Turn to the second page, I have 3 different Remind 101 options. For parents who are not familiar with what Remind 101 is, and most students are because your teachers are using this, it is a way for you to opt into different emails and or text messages for alerts that have to do with particular pieces of information. In this case, this is just for your class. So if there was a class meeting, or all of your scheduling sheets are due, or something unique was going on, that's the only time I would use this. So this is a safe one to opt into where you're not going to be bombarded. I know some of them are sending out Remind 101s on a daily basis. I don't do that with this. So this is a good one, just so you're in the loop with your class. We will use this throughout the years until you graduate. Second one is new. I just created this one. What I'm finding is, how many of you read the announcements on the TVs? Okay. How many of you look at the website for the announcements on the websites? Okay. The problem is there's a lot of information that I'm sending out, and how many of you use email? More so, okay, good. I've been emailing your class because that's really been the best way, but I know based on the kids that are at my house here, you don't check email, but you got your phone on you all the time. So this is something that I'm just creating. I'm going to start to create a counseling newsletter. Remind 101 now allows you to attach documents to it. So that's huge for me because now I can send out these newsletters that just have a summary of everything, and you can filter through it really quickly what's important, what's not to you, without having to wait for the screen to come on and read through all the other announcements. So I highly recommend that you sign up for that, parents especially, so that they know the important things that are coming out of our office, and they will go from there. So if you don't have a smartphone, Remind 101 So it'll be simply a message saying the newsletter a new newsletter has been released and uploaded, and then if you go to my counseling website, there's a tab just for newsletters and recordings such as the presentation that we're doing today. The last one, which I don't have on this slide, is for KHSO, and I threw that on your sheet just in case you didn't know that that existed. I still have some of your classmates that are coming in saying, I'd like to volunteers or anything going on, I want to be more involved, and I always send them to KHSO. KHS, Kingston High School Outreach, is technically a club that I am a volunteer coordinator for, and it's to encourage you to get involved in the community. Some of you may be already working, you may be involved in sports and other extracurricular activities at the school, so it's not for everyone, but for those of you that are really undecided right now as far as what you want to do for a living, and you shouldn't know, I don't mean to imply that you should know at this point, because you can do a lot of going over the next couple of years. But one of the best ways, I think, to do that, to find out about yourself, is to volunteer. Put yourself into a situation that you're not in at school, that you're not in at home, that you're not in at your job, and see how you handle it. If you love it, if you hate it. If you hate it, at least you know you'll no longer go in that field. So it's all about those experiences. And I think that's the biggest thing with volunteerism. It makes you feel good about yourself because you're helping other people, but it also helps you grow as a person. So if you're looking for volunteer opportunities and you're not sure how to get a hold of them, if you're a Facebook user, there's Kingsford High School Outreach. You go in and like that page. Every time I get asked to coordinate something volunteer-wise, I post it on there. I also send it out through Line 101. So that is on the sheet, the packet that you received when you want. Counseling office is really a student service center, and I haven't done a formal presentation with you in a very long time. So just to remind you, it's not a counseling office where you have to come in if you have issues. It's a student service center. We have work permits coming through there. We coordinate the volunteer hours. So if you are working on the medallion, which just to reiterate, you do not need any volunteer hours to graduate from high school. I still have some of your classmates asking me that. But if you're looking at earning that Governor's Service Medallion, which would be 400 documented, approved volunteer hours by March 1st of your senior year, what you should be doing is using those documentation forms to turn them into my office every 9 weeks. When you turn them into us, we fax them over to DICSA, that's the Dickinson Higher Community Service Agency. They're the ones that are in charge of coordinating the whole medallion process. And then at the end, they give you an engraved medallion if you qualify, and we recognize you at the graduation ceremony. So that goes through my office. If you are working on that, coordinate presentations such as this, recruiter visits. Okay, I mentioned that earlier in your career cruising account. You should be keeping that career cruising account up to date. It is a wealth of knowledge, and if you haven't really sat and played with all of the links and gone to the colleges and looked at earnings and job openings and things like that, it's important that you do that. There's a lot of jobs right now where if you go in and you look at earnings, which we all go to, we want to know how much you can make, right? At the bottom, there's a special section for job openings. And you'll see there's some down there where DNR officer, around here, conservation officer, it's huge. We all love it. We appreciate the wilderness. And a lot of people are interested in going into that field. But if you look at how many job openings there are, there's like 3. And if you're going to compete with the entire state of Michigan and actually in the United States, anybody can get certified in that. You need to be pretty competitive in order to get one of those spots. So, is it still possible? Absolutely. But should you have a plan B? Absolutely. That's the kind of thing you can get with recruiting. And then the other thing that you use recruiting for is when you save different jobs in your EDP, you log in as yourself, you can save careers, you can save schools. I go in there as an administrator and I pull those lists for 2 different reasons. One, when recruiters come into our office and they want to meet with people, we will let you know, usually it's through email, but sometimes if it's a smaller number, we'll call you, that school is going to be here, the recruiter from that campus or maybe even that military institution is going to be here, so that you can come down and start having conversations. That's really big, and that starts really heavily your junior year. Sophomores, maybe not so much. And then the other thing is job opportunities, excuse me, or special events. A lot of times community members will contact me and say, I really need somebody to do some filing for me over the summer. So I will go into career cruising and I look for people who have saved careers in business so that I start making connections for you by placing you into those kinds of positions. So that's how I know what you're interested in is how to keep that career cruising account up to date. So you should be doing that at least twice a year. This is a good time for you to go in and do that because you're going to be adjusting what you're signing up for as far as courses you're going to take for next year and even on your senior year. Counseling services, and I think that's probably what we're most known for. Scheduling, personal counseling, advising, testing, and things like that. And again, email me if you have any questions about anything. Improving grades. This is your second year in high school, so I know you probably have this down, but I just want to reiterate it, especially since parents are going to be watching this taped version. Your grades right now, you're halfway through pretty much the second semester of your sophomore year. You only have next year to impact your grade point average. You're almost 2/3 of the way done with your grade point average because you apply for colleges at the beginning of your senior year. Okay? It's a big deal. So I put information in there about parchment. I think I have a slide that's coming up so that you can look at your transcript, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. But you need to know what you look like on paper. When you apply to colleges, they have no idea how many hours you put in studying or how much you worked with this teacher or that teacher. All they see is what's on that transcript. So you need to know what that looks like. How does your attendance look on that transcript? They look, it's on there. Your grades. If you struggled in 9th grade, but you got a hold of it in 10, and you're in AB by 11th or even C depending on what program you're going into, they take note of that. That shows as growth to them. So it's not like you're sunk if you had a bad 9th grade year, but you need to keep showing that growth and improvement. If you're not getting that right now with where you're at, you need to start getting help from people. And that includes myself, and in particular, your teachers. For some people, schooling comes very easily, and they're lucky, and they'll be able to go through college and probably not have a lot of bumps. But for those of us that it takes a little bit of extra effort, all you need to do is figure out how your brain works. It doesn't need to be impossible, you just need to find out how your brain takes information in so that you start doing it that way, and it becomes easier for you to learn things. So this first one, how can I be more proactive and prepare the classes in which I struggle? This is true for every single class, and you'll find this at the college level too. If you are struggling with a class, you can't just walk in and expect the teacher to fill you with information. If you do that, it's coming at you like it's another language, and how can you possibly come up with a question because you're trying to figure out what they're throwing at you, so you walk away kind of dumbfounded. Don't do that. Let's say history is a class that's hard for you. It's a lot of memorizing, it's a lot of facts. Look it over beforehand so that you already have 50% of the information, or let's say 25 even. When you go into class and the teacher's talking about it, your brain will start making connections and say, I remember that, I didn't understand that, let me ask a question. You're more interactive and you're more engaged because you have a clue about what they're doing. It's not true for all classes. If you're doing okay, you don't have to do that, but the ones that you struggle in, that's what you need to do. You need to do more proactively. Also, don't get hung up on taking notes while you're trying to listen. Worst case, the worst thing that I see students doing is they think that the teacher is their only resource. In college, I have had instructors who spoke English as their second language, and I had a hard time figuring out what even they were expecting me to do, let alone using that teacher as my only resource. So high school is the only time in your life you're going to get an education for free. Your English class right now that you're in, if you were to take that at the college level, would be a minimum of $600 for that one class, and you have 7 of them. 2 semesters every year. Think how much money that will cost you at the college level. You need to take advantage of this. This is the time for you to figure out how your brain works and how to make those connections so that you are successful from this point forward, and it's not a major problem for you. If it's a major problem, it's just because you haven't figured it out yet. So let's do that together. What is the purpose of unit exams? This is a biggie. Everybody gets an exam back and they go, oh, I got an 80% or I got a 60%. That's not the point. The point is, what did you get wrong? And you need to figure out, okay, if you got it wrong, why did you get that wrong? Was it not in your notes? Is it the way that you studied? Were you missing the fact that, and I see this in science a lot, if you struggle on tests in science and you're not studying your lab notes, that's probably the 15% that you're getting wrong, okay? So take that time to see what you got wrong, because that's how you grow, that's how you learn, and that's how you'll do better on the next test and the final exam. And the ACT, SAT, Compass test, whatever it is you take for college. How do I prepare for final exams? You know this. You start saving from day 1. That's more for the younger students. However, if you're not doing that, that's exactly what you need to do. And review on a continual basis. Just, you're sitting watching TV, have some notes, look them over. It doesn't have to be a big deal if you're doing it on a continual basis. I do fine on homework, but I never do well in exams. What can I do about that? Well, you need to figure out why that is. Again, how are you studying? Are you studying the right stuff? Are you studying the right way for your brain? If not, then let's try some different things. So you come from the office, talk to your teachers, ask your friends, create study groups. College, that's like a given. Everybody has study groups. It's not weird to do. In high school, I don't see enough of that. I wish that you guys would coordinate that, especially those of you that are student leaders. You're doing well, offer to set that up. You can make a big difference in your classmates' lives and also find some volunteering. What are you studying? See what you got wrong. Test anxiety. Test anxiety is fairly common. And if you feel like you know everything but you clam up, come and see me. There's things that you can do to help yourself work through that. Test anxiety is the same as anxiety you may feel in the workplace, and things that will come up down the road in your life, so it's not a waste to start working on that right now. What options do I have if I feel I need help? Your teacher is your #1 resource. However, I'm going to stress again, they're not your only resource. How many of you in here actually read your textbook? Okay, so the hands. Those are the ones that are probably getting the A's in class, and those of you that are getting C's or B's and really trying and can't figure out why you can't get the A. Teachers' notes are about 75% of the information that's in the book. Okay? They're doing you a favor by highlighting, and what they think they're doing is cementing that information into your brain. But if you've never looked at it and you don't ever look at it, you're missing a big chunk of what they're assessing you on. So make sure you're using those books. College classes, you walk into class, they expect that you've already read it so that we can engage in conversation and have a better, deeper understanding of what's in the text, because that's already in your hands. Why would I go over that? So try to make that shift. Tutoring, our list of tutors has grown. I have seniors right now, but seniors are starting to kind of skirt their way out. The juniors will be inducted into the National Honor Society next week. So I would assume by the following week, I'll probably have a list of juniors that are available for tutoring. So if you need help, come and see me, ask your teachers. I gave them the list too, so they should be able to point you in the right direction. There are many online textbooks. If your teachers are not talking to you about them, ask, because that could be a good resource for you. And studies. Also the Khan Academy, or even just YouTube. If you're studying the Civil War and you don't understand a certain battle that happened, if you put that into the Khan Academy or YouTube, you'll come up with a million teachers who recorded that lesson. So if your learning style is you need that auditory exploration, you can find it with a quick search. So we've got so many resources out there. Just need to figure out which one works best for you. Okay, I'm off that pedestal. Now we have my graduation requirements. Looking at your transcript, again, you need to go into part 2 to get your transcript. You should have 4 English credits by the time that you're done. And this is one of those things where right now, some of you're on your 2nd English class, and maybe you need to pass 9th grade English, and you're starting to double up. We need to figure out where the disconnect is and fix that so that we're not doing 3 or more from this point forward. Math, you need to have algebra, geometry, and algebra 2. Those are typically the sequence that you take them in. You can take geometry and algebra 2 at the same time if you want, but you do not have to do that. And then the math related has to be your senior year. Okay, and that's the biggest question I get when my seniors are scheduling. They'll say, well, I had a text my course last year, I didn't take math this year. You still have to have it by Michigan standards, a math related class your senior year. If you look at the back of your packet, try to make this really easy for you to find and put it right in the back. There is a list of all the classes. In the bottom left, there is a legend, and it says what all the little symbols mean. And that'll tell you your senior year what counts as your math related. In the course description book, again, I can't push this enough, you need to be using that course description book. It'll tell you which class is a prerequisite for which other class. So for example, for math, algebra 2 is going to be a prerequisite for physics, which is a science class. It's also a prerequisite for pre-calculus or AP statistics. For your sciences, your class, most of you took Science 9. You all need to take Bio. And it's just a reminder, you should know this by now, but if you failed first semester, but you passed second semester, you only have to make first semester Bio up, but you do have to make it up. So you need to be checking your transcripts to see if you are in that position for any of the classes. Chemistry is an option for next year, chemistry, physics, or advanced physics. Advanced physics is a new It does not have physics as a prerequisite. Mr. Olson is offering advanced physics at an advanced pace, a faster pace. His goal is to cover most of the AP curriculum, so that if you wanted to do the AP exam, he would work with you to make sure that you have that content covered and you could take that exam. However, he's not covering that curriculum through that outline, so it's called advanced physics instead of AP physics, and it is equivalent to physics. It's just a faster, more in-depth version. Okay, so you have a choice of either chemistry, advanced physics, or physics. They all would be sequential after biology, as long as you had the algebra 2, and that's the biggest thing with physics. Social studies, U.S. history, typically 9th grade. Civics would be right now, one semester civics, one semester econ, and world history. So world history is typically taken your junior year. However, if you're trying to get more AP classes in, or some other advanced courses to open up your senior year, some students choose to move world history to your senior year, because world history is not a component on an ACT or an SAT. PE and health, half of a credit each. Intro to micro, 1 credit. You do need that course, so if you put that course off, make sure you have that planned in for either next year or the year after. And then the world language. I'm going to skip over VPA for 1 second. I have this in yellow because this has changed, or it should change next month. We haven't done anything with this officially until now, because the state hasn't officially put this in motion. There's just a proposal out there. So the world language credit, right now as it stands, you need 1 year of the world language in order to graduate. If you don't take a second year, which is recommended that you do of the same world language, you can compensate for that by taking an additional VPAA credit. VPAA, remember, is Visual Performing Applied Arts, and on this sheet, the classes that qualify for that are designated with a special symbol, so you can see which ones they are. Before I move on, though, I want to point out that for the world language, you really need to think about this pretty seriously before you just bail and say, I got 1 year Spanish, I'm done. When you start looking at the different degrees that you may pursue, the different colleges that you may pursue, even some grants that you could be eligible for, they are associated with how many years of a world language you're going to take, how many years of the same world language. So a lot of schools, they will all recommend, especially a 4-year degree, that you take 2 to 3 years of the same world language. And when I say recommend, what that means is in their admissions office, when they're looking at your applications, they give you points for different things. And one of the point factors is how many world language credits that you've taken. For some universities, it's an absolute must. You have to have 2 to 3 years of the world language, or you cannot get into a certain program. And a lot of times it's designated by program, it's not necessarily an entire college. So in order to know if that affects you or not, you need to be looking right now at what colleges that you may be interested in. You don't really know for sure that you're going to go to school A, B, or C, but you need to know what the requirements are. So do that before you rule out a 2nd and a 3rd year of world language. I know UW-Madison right now is probably the most rigorous, so if that's on your radar, you definitely need to check out the requirements before you rule out that 2nd year. I would recommend, at this stage of the game, everyone you take a 2nd year of a world language, because that keeps your door open. When you're a senior, this last week I had 4 seniors apply to different colleges. Right now is like very unique for kids to be changing their mind right now their senior year. But that happens because you get to know yourself better over the course of your senior year, and sometimes that puts you on a different track. This world language can keep that track open or closed for you. So if you are undecided and you're not sure, consider that 2nd year for sure, and then do research about potentially even 3rd year. Okay, parchment. You've got several handouts in your packet on parchment, and I'm not going to go through those with you. I just want to point out that we offer an online transcript retrieval system through parchment. The symbol looks like that white little symbol in the upper right-hand corner of the KHS homepage. And normally as a sophomore, you don't necessarily need to create an account, but I think it would be a good idea for you to do that, so I've included instructions for you to do that. You need to know what you look like on paper for those college applications. And I talked about attendance and things like that, but also to be planning summer school, to be looking at credit recovery if you're in that position. So the other thing for you as a sophomore is Zinch. private companies, so they do not have access to your transcripts, they do not see your grade point average, they do not see your test scores. But when you create an account, it'll start asking you questions like what kind of field of study are you interested in, what kind of colleges are you interested in. It'll ask you to self-report your grade point average, so whatever you tell it, that's what it thinks it is. So if you're not accurate, it has no idea. It doesn't have your real data. But when you do that, it'll go through and it'll say, you know, if you're looking at going to Stanford, you know, and your grade point average in the ACT is reported as this, what is your likelihood of getting in? It'll give you all that information. It also allows colleges to search for you. So if you want to go into programming and UWGB is creating a new programming degree, they can go in and find you through Zinch and send you information so that you're aware that there's a new program and maybe a new scholarship for that. So it's optional, but it's kind of nice as a sophomore to get involved in that because it'll get you into that notification system. You can self-view your transcript. You should never have to pay for this, so if it's asking you for money, you're going on the spot. You will be using this to send your scholarships electronically. I would highly recommend you use your personal email to open this account because your school email will end when you graduate, and you're going to want to use Parchment for the rest of your life because that's where your transcripts are located. And of course, use it to schedule and plan for summer school. Okay, this is what your scheduling sheet looks like. Everybody's going to be in the English 11s. You can see that it's listed as your options for science we talked about already. Chemistry would be a prerequisite for advanced and AP chemistry. Physics and advanced physics, remember we talked about that you can sign up for either one of them. You do not need physics to take the advanced physics, however you do need successful completion of Algebra 2. And you need to be comfortable with that, otherwise physics is somewhat difficult. World history and geography, notice that it's automatically scheduled on there. This is fluid. If you want to cross things off and write on this, do that, okay? And then we'll go through and we'll look at these once you turn them into your English teacher. So if you plan to use that world history, you can just cross it off and write whatever other class you would like on there. Your math courses, course going through the sequence, algebra, geometry, algebra 2, and then any other advanced math class from there would be pre-calc or AP stats. And if you're in pre-calc, go on to AP calc. Electives, number 5 through 7, I just want to point out that if you're taking a Voc Center class, it's going to take up 2 of those lines. And remember, Voc Center classes are 2 hours of the day. So make sure you write it down that way, otherwise you're going to overschedule. Mrs. Clark didn't leave lines on here for alternates, but when you schedule, you're going to have to identify 2 alternate courses that you'd be interested in if one of your other requests didn't go through. Sometimes when you hit the more advanced classes, they're often the same hour of the day, and you can't always get all of those in, or we only have so many seats at the tech center, so maybe one of those classes upperclassmen took advantage of it, and there wasn't room for you. So you're going to need to select alternates just like you did last year. Last year, we took you to the computer lab, and we walked you through scheduling. This year, we're going to treat you like adults, and we're going to turn Power School on and let you do this from home with your parents. You still want this sheet turned in because some of you may need to cross off things. If you are a transfer student and you already had something and you need to cross it off and write something else in, we will go through and we'll look at these paper ones that you turn in that have parent signatures on them. But we're going to ask you to schedule from home. So that's big, that's new, that's different. That's just you and the juniors this year. Any questions about the scheduling sheet? College and career planning. You should be using career cruising. I've been stressing that. Talked about the fact that you can look at employment, you can look at age and earnings. I'll also take you to all the colleges in the United States that offer the degree that you need for a certain position that you're interested in. There's also a scholarship search engine in there, although there's not a lot that are tailored for our area. You should start meeting with college recruiters in the fall, military recruiters in the fall, just to get information. You're not making any decisions here, you're just getting information. If you look at your college education, if you're going for a 4-year degree, that's potentially $80,000 for a 4-year degree. That's more than any car that you'll probably buy in the next couple of years. You need to start shopping, know what you're buying. Attend college night. College night will be in the fall. recruiters from all over the United States will be there. Talk with them. Course selection. Okay, AP, online, and dual enrollment. So let's look at that dual enrollment survey that's in front of you. AP, the difference between AP and dual enrollment. AP courses are university level courses, which means if you're going for a 2-year degree, you're typically going to a college or a technical school. If you're going for a 4-year degree, you're going to be going to a university, generally speaking. AP classes are university level classes, which means they are transferable throughout the United States. The thing that you need to know about AP classes is they are offered here on campus. You get high school credit based on the assignments that you turn in, just like the rest of your classes. They are more rigorous, and because they are more rigorous, we offer a 5-point grade scale for those, which means if you get an A instead of it being a 4.0 on your grade point average, it goes in as a 5.0. That matters for class ranking, and you'll see if you attend graduation in May that we have a number of students that have graduated with over a 4.0 grade point average because of these AP courses. You do need to get a C or higher in order to get that 5-point grade scale. And the exam at the end is very similar to like an ACT test or an SAT test, where it's given by the College Board. You take it here on campus. The cost for the exams are around $93 unless you're on free reduced lunch, then the price is reduced. But you sit for that one exam, and your college credit is based on how you do on that one exam. So if you are not a really strong test taker, you know, it's kind of a gamble whether or not you'll get the university level credit for it because it's all based on that one exam. Okay, that's how AP courses work. And I have tons of resources for AP credit transfer and things like that on my website. Dual enrollment, on the other hand, is where you're taking a class as if you're in high school, except you're doing this with a college professor at the college level. We have had the unique opportunity, and it's worked out wonderfully this year, to actually have Bay instructors come onto our campus so that students don't even need to leave to take these dual enrollment classes. And that's what's in front of you right now, is I'm wondering how many of you are interested in dual enrollment. You're not signing up by doing this survey, okay? This is just interest. You can think about it. We'll talk more about this later. But if you're interested in doing dual enrollment, that's what I'm asking on the sheet is what classes would you be interested in taking? If you are looking at dual enrollment, you really should have at least a 3.0 grade point average. Okay? You should be independent. You should not need a parent over your shoulder looking at Power School, reminding you have a test, checking your homework. If that's you, you are not mature enough to handle a college level class. Because they will not do that at the college level. It's all you. You also need to realize that if you do enroll, you are creating a college transcript, which affects you in money-wise. Okay? If you take a dual enrollment class through Bay and you do poorly on it, that's going to affect your eligibility for certain grants, certain scholarships. It carries with you. You have to transfer that wherever you go for college. So it is a big deal that you need to take seriously. As far as the cost of dual enrollment, I don't know what the costs are going to be for next year, but I can tell you this year when we were working with Bay, the 3-credit course, which is what most of the courses are worth, we paid about $502 of the tuition, which left $80 per course for the students and parents to pay. And then the textbooks you purchase on your own as well, because they are not property of the school, they're yours. So you can rent them, you can resell them when you're done, they're your property to do with as you please. So those are the costs that are incurred if you enroll. At least that's what it was this year. College classes are based on semester. So if you chose 2, that would encompass 1 hour of your day. If you chose 2 that were offered here on campus, those have been historically offered Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which left Tuesday and Thursday when the student went to the community center to do homework. The course descriptions are on the back. If you're not interested in it, no problem. Sometimes it's not for you, that's no problem. Just look at the top line that says I do not plan on taking it, I'm not interested in it. When you schedule, if you sign up for dual enrollment, you do not have to know what you're taking, just put dual enrollment down. What will happen is that it'll put you on a Online. Online has become more popular. They offer some electives that we don't have. It's not for everyone, though, and I have to warn you again, the student that I described for dual enrollment would be the same student that I would describe for online. Communication is a little bit lagging. You send a message to the teacher, you've got 24 hours before they respond, so you're stuck kind of waiting. So there's a lot of patience that goes along with it, but at the same time, there's some pretty interesting electives that are out there, and some kids have really enjoyed certain classes. So if you're interested and curious about that, I do have a list of providers that we work with in my office. You can stop and you can look at that. Otherwise, if you're just interested and you're not sure exactly what, again, you can sign up for online, and that will put you onto another list that I will meet with and help you with, because that's very individualized. Online works just like any other class. So 1 hour of your day on your schedule. You report to the computer lab with a supervised teacher, and that teacher will help you to communicate with your online teacher and help you problem solve, supervise your tests, and you take your attendance and things like that. Okay. World languages, we already talked about that. I'm going to skip that. Planning, rigorous senior year. This is just a heads up. Colleges typically recalculate their grade point average. And a lot of students for senior year, they'll be like, oh, I'm going to take easy classes, I'm going to boost my grade point average. It doesn't work, they throw them out. And I had 2 students who did not get into the colleges that they were interested in this year because they took too easy of a senior year, and the colleges did not have a lot of respect for that. So you need to know what kind of school you're looking at, what the rigor is. And make sure that, like I said, you have to take advantage of this education. This is the only time in your life that you're going to get this for free. Think of it as $600 every time you walk into a teacher's class each semester. It's a lot of money. NCAA clearinghouse. If you are looking at a Division I or Division II school, college, or athlete, they are even more specific about the classes that you need to take. So you need to be looking at that and make sure that you take enough core classes to meet their screening, because they will screen you based on your academics to see whether or not you're even eligible to play this sport. Volunteerism we talked about, and then I talked about the fact that your grade point average is going to be calculated in your junior year because you apply at the beginning of your senior year. Scholarships, sometimes you have that extra semester in your senior year to impact, but usually applying will be your senior year. Okay, test alerts. Your class took the Explorer. This year you should have taken the plan, but they got rid of the plan, ACT did, and they came up with a new test that was called Aspire. We were going to give you the Aspire, but then they decided instead of giving you the ACT test next year, we're going to take the SAT test. So, right now, I've been working with the teachers to give them all the resources that the state is releasing. Some of your teachers give you practice SAT test. Yeah, some of you raised your hand. I heard that was going on. That's excellent. So you're getting a little bit of an insight into what the SAT test is like. When you're looking at a 4-year college, a bachelor's degree, that's your 4-year degree, you're looking at ACT or SAT to get into college. Either one of them is acceptable. They have a correspondence scale where you can convert one to the other. So the colleges are good with either one of them. You will be taking the SAT for free through the state during the school day next year this time. Okay, so that'll be done. You have the option to sign up for the ACT or the SAT on the weekends if you want. You register for them online. Right now, my testing website needs to be revamped. So if you go there, it still has the Explorer the plan on it. But you can go to the ACT, the SAT, AP, all of that is still accurate and active. You can go in there and you can register through my site. The only caution is if you are looking at a highly selective school, and I mean highly selective, it's very few schools do this, but they sometimes take the very first test that you took rather than your highest. On the other end of the spectrum, some schools super score, which means they'll look at every ACT or every SAT that you've taken, and they'll pick them apart and take your highest scores, and then come up with a new score for your college entrance. So every school is different. There's not a certain policy that I can, educate you on in general. Just know that there's different options out there, and there's different tests that you can be taken advantage of. You can take them at any time. I would wait until your junior year, probably December, January, if you want to start doing these on your own. But you have the opportunity to do that. And if you are on free reduced lunch, I can give you up to two fee waivers for each exam. So, talk to you. The ASVAB you'll take next year, that's for those of you that are interested in military careers. the job of flushing out military careers. If you think of military bases, there's little cities all over the world. Little cities all over the world. So if you are interested in traveling, the military is a phenomenal opportunity to do that. And if you think of our city, every sort of position that we need to run our city, that's exactly what they need to run these military bases. So it's more jobs than what you imagine when you think of the military. There's a lot of different careers that you can go into and be a part of the military. YASDAP is the entrance exam for any branch in the military. I talked about AP exams already. The acupuncture and the compass, those would be optional exams if you don't score high enough on the ACT or SAT test to get into a school, to your school. What they'll do is they'll give you the written exam to get a base rating on where you're at, and from there they'll make you do some recommendations. So locally, some people will experience those. New courses real quick. These are new course description notes. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I talked about advanced physics. Again, I just want to stress you do not need to have physics in order to take advanced physics. Business courses, there's 4 new ones that are out there. And the descriptions are all online. Music appreciation and music theory, I do want to talk about for a second because, when I was in high school, my musical talents are like none. Music appreciation and music theory is for those of you who are not musically talented, but you want to be educated about the music industry, about music in general, just being able to have conversations with people who know about music and being able to understand what they're talking about when they're doing that. So it's the different genres, the different key people within the music industry throughout the ages that you should know. And that's the music appreciation, music theory. It's a blended class. Some of it is face-to-face and some of it's going to be an online curriculum. There's not a requirement to play, and there's not a requirement to sing. It's about understanding music in general. So for those of us that don't have that naturally, it's very awesome. Computer coding, for gaming, we do have a programming course here. You do have to have a strength in algebra in order to really enjoy that course. But the Tech Center is offering a new course. The difference maybe is that this is a 2-hour block. Some of you might have a hard time getting a 2-hour block here. We still have a programming course here. Flipper interventions is new. For those of you who feel like you really haven't mastered how your brain takes information in and you want to get some extra help, that's what flipper interventions is all about. It might be that you feel like you don't read as fast as your classmates or understand things as easily as what they do. You don't know how to study in order for your brain to be able to take that information in. Those are all different interventions that this class is designed to help you with to get you back on track and back ahead of that curve. Summer programs, again, we talked about summer school. Those ones will be online. You should be checking to see whether or not you have any efforts for your transcript. We talked about the rest of those, summer camps. I know you're not checking the announcements, but there are some phenomenal things that you can be taking advantage of this summer. Almost every college has different camps that you can take part in. Some of them you can even stay in the dorms and get a feel for what college dorm life is like. So go to the college's website, search for summer programs. It's amazing what's out there. And then this last one, which we only have a couple minutes left. Before I forget, as you're leaving, please put your surveys and your pencils on that table where you got them from as you're heading out. But for those of you who are phenomenal planners, if you are worried right now about how you pay for school, how funding college works, there's 2 things I want to point out to you. First of all, this FAFSA forecaster right there, that website, if you don't know how your family is going to fend for college when you get to that point, you can fill this form out right now with your parents. It'll give you an estimated value as far as what colleges are going to expect that you have in your pocket. So if that comes back as $5,000, every college is going to think you're going to have that much on hand. They will then put a package together based on that value for you. If you go to college websites and find what's called, and I don't have this up here, it's called the net price calculator. Every college has it. If you give them that information that you got from your FAFSA forecaster, it'll tell you, it'll give you a financial aid package. It'll say you're eligible for this scholarship, this grant, these loans, and this is how much you still need to find, if any. If you need help with that, if you're concerned about that, it's not too early for you to be looking at that. I can help you to find that information just so you have a better understanding and you're more comfortable with where you sit. And that might help you to open up more doors too. You can never look at the price tag of a college, okay? One college may be $30,000 to go to, another may be only 21, but when you get that financial aid package, what you actually have to pay could be totally reversed. You don't know until March of your senior year when you get those financial aid letters. So don't be making decisions on cost yet.